Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3Cast, episode 196. I'm your host, Ricky Williams.
And I'm Vince Hui.
Yeah, Matt is away this week. I believe he's stuck in a never ending game of Thrones. Anyway, we do the podcast every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and you can do the math for your time zone.
Because God knows we can't.
You can reach us by email. The address is contact@the3cast.com. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/the3cast, and in the Twitterverse, we are at the 3cast. This week, we're going to talk iPhone 6. I'm going to go through some of the rumored features.
Actually, before we even talk about the features, are we also going to talk about the release dates too? Because I keep on hearing rumors about that stuff too. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the date of the big event where they're going to debut it, and then
very debatable
when it should be released after that. So I figure I'll just go through the rumored features. So I'll do like one feature and then you can talk about it, being as you have the 4S, so you would be most likely to upgrade.
Actually, I got the 4S, but because like I told you, my baby tossed my phone in the toilet.
So you got a 5?
I had to get a 5C for my my daughter doesn't listen to this, but I got a 5C, and as you know, I'm colorblind, so I ended up getting this one, a 5C cheap. Because later on, when the new one comes in, because I actually have a lot invested in this particular discussion tonight, I can pass this crappy phone, to my daughter to use for her first phone, and then I can get whatever hot new phone's coming through. So just want to lay out all the stake grounds.
Okay, so all right, so I figure I'll go through each feature. I mean, we're not going to do all of them because some of them are just kind of crazy. Like NFC and wireless charging, so it's kind of not even worth spending the time. So I'll go through each, and then you can say what you think of it. Would that really make you upgrade or whatever?
I think you might want to follow up on like just describing those, because some of the features, some of the rumors. I'm a Luddite on these things. My biggest concern is like size. Certain software components and where like the auto jack and like the microphone and all that stuff, and like the camera. But aside from that, I mean, there's a lot of other things that are under the hood that you might want to help me out on, because I'm not all that.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, I don't even know if I'm really gonna go into that stuff, because I'm usually, like I could say, it's rumored to be getting 2 gigs of RAM, but I mean that's a rumor, and that really doesn't matter until it's out and people tear it down, right? Because Apple really doesn't do the spec thing, right? It's like they make the OS run like butter, and then whatever RAM they put in there, that's what they put in, right? Whereas Samsung, it's like, we got like 80,000 gigabytes of RAM, and whatever.
If only, man.
8 terabytes of RAM. Woo. And the phone will melt in your hand after the first minute. So
and it also is like Thor's hammer. It can fit in your hand, but it weighs like 2 million pounds.
All right, so the obvious first rumor that we're going to start with, which is pretty much all but confirmed by Apple, is that the iPhone 6 is going to have a bigger screen. So current rumor is not one, but actually 2 bigger sizes. One is supposed to be 4.7 inches. The current iPhone is 4 inches, so just, and then the second one, more like an iPhablet, is supposed to be 5.5 inches.
That's nice.
Really? I didn't think you were gonna say that, but
no. I'm realizing now that there's so much stuff that I do on the phones that screen size actually is starting to make a difference. And when I see my students coming in with freaking
Note 3s,
it's like this is a calculator, and I'm seeing kids bringing stuff this big, and I'm like, wow, like the Galaxy stuff, and it's like, okay. Like I
Yeah.
feel that I look at my screen, it's like, man, it's like looking at a primitive pager screen or something.
So far, the consensus of rumors is that the 5.5 may be coming out later, possibly later in the year, maybe even the first quarter of 2015, just because
Mhm.
there's issues with the supply of the panels or whatever. But I mean, until Apple comes out on stage, we really don't know if that's the case. Um, so also apart from that, it said that some more rumors that said that the 5.5 is also going to get a beefier A8 processor, so it may be clocked higher.
Mhm.
It may just, have it's going to supposedly going to be using a different manufacturing size. So there's tons of stuff that it may have. Like I said, it could be clocked higher, but it could have a better GPU, the 5.5. So, up to you. Will that new size make you go for the 6? And if so, which size are you thinking of grabbing?
So you know what's funny? Because like the last question of the week was about like battery life versus size, and I'm a proponent of the size because like battery life isn't really that big deal. But I'm just wondering, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more because I was wondering, does the screen size being larger, uh, is it a different resolution as well, or is it going to be
Yeah,
same? Okay.
it's supposed to be the rumor. It's
Yeah.
not, said by Apple, but whatever. I mean, it's supposed to be a higher res, because if they stuck with the same
It's not
res with
like
the bigger
upscanned or something.
screen,
Yeah.
yeah, it would, well,
Pixelate and stuff.
yeah, it'd be a crappy OS, but also they'd lose their Retina display
Yeah.
term, right? So, I forgot what it's supposed to be. I believe the 960 is
Hmm.
remaining, but it's gonna go to 1140 or something. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to say that for sure because I might be wrong.
Okay.
But it is gonna go. It's gonna go to like a three times, whereas Retina display is a two times. So it's
So I have no problem with getting the big one. As I said before, real estate's really good for me, and I think that's tends to be what a lot of the competition Apple's facing is putting out. So the phablet model is perfectly fine. Um, the higher processor, I assume, is then a function of also dealing with the higher res. Like, I mean, that just computationally that makes sense. Um, I don't know. Does that? I suspect the battery life would be perhaps diminished on that account. I'm totally
yeah.
cool with that. Like, come on, man. Every day we commute, we go to work, and when we go back from work to home, we're plugging that stuff in. So in all cases, it's not like we're camping out in like a cave where you don't need to plug in. So I'm cool with a bigger and more powerful. That's what I want, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, even I was reading a couple things on the whole processor thing, and some people were saying, which I agree with, that's not very Apple-like, to have two phones named iPhone 6, and
Mm.
one has, I mean, yes, the iPad and the iPhone have the same, like, they'll have the
Yeah.
A7, but, one will be clocked higher than the other, but that's different. That's not two iPhones,
But
right?
but you know what? I think recently Apple's done a lot of uncharacteristic things, right? Like let's don't
Yeah,
forget the whole iPad 2 and all like whatever like the iPad debacle, and then don't forget that we had the 5C, the 5S at the same
yeah.
time. So
Well, see, that was a little different though, right? Because the 5C is basically just the
four people.
5, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the 5S is definitely the 5S, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm with you. Like, if they're gonna do two different sizes, I can see them doing the 4.7 for the people who like the 4-inch screen,
Yeah.
right? Because the 5.5 would just be too big. But obviously, if they have the two phones, they need a differentiator
Yeah.
between them, right? And like with the bigger screen, yeah, you might need a little more beef
Hmm.
to push things and make the
I mean,
because
yeah.
obviously, like you and I both said, we prefer to do gaming on the iPad, so
Hmm.
obviously people gonna want to do gaming on the 5.5 over the 4.7, right? You know what I mean? So there's different reasons
Yeah.
why it would make sense and why it wouldn't. um But me, on the other hand, I would go for the 4.7, just because, I think for me, I guess because I have the iPad at the same time,
Hmm.
it's less of a need for me to get the largest iPhone screen size. I like my 4-inch,
Mm.
but at 4.7, I'm like, yeah, I would dig that, right? But I wouldn't go up to the largest size because I like the pocketability and,
Yeah, I think I'd
you
really
know,
have to just see it. Like, I mean, like, and
yeah,
hold it in my hand, see if it fits in the pockets comfortably. Like, I think that's a really like it's easy for me to say I want the bigger one because like I look at my buddies with the Samsungs and I'm like, yeah, that's good. But I mean, the proportions, like the bevel, everything, like the thickness, that's the stuff that really comes into play. Like,
yeah.
so what other
So,
hardware components can go through? Like, I mean, like the
yeah.
camera, the
All right, so we'll go to the design, because that kind of ties in to the hardware
right.
stuff. So the design of the iPhone 6 is supposed to be really thin, really light, rounded, kind of
Hmm.
like the iPod Touch, but a more up-to-date version of it. The power button has been relocated to the side from the top because of the fact of the larger screen, so that makes it easier for you to
Yeah.
to wake it up and put it to sleep. Um, the headphone jack is going to stay in the same place.
I don't know why. Can we just be clear about this? Why is the phone jack on the bottom? Because it's stupid. I don't
Yeah.
understand this.
Well, see, the earlier ones, right? Like I forgot when they switched it. It used to be on the top, right? I
I
think
liked
they
it when it was on
switched it
top.
for, yeah, so did I. But I
When it
think
was
they
the five
switched it.
or
Uh,
4S? No, no, no,
yeah,
the
I think they
five.
switched it on the 4. I don't know. You got
No,
a
because I had a,
4S.
I had a
Was it still
4S. It
on the
was
top?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so they switched it on the 5 then, I guess.
Okay.
And the thought of it was that, because when you plug in your lightning cable, right, and if you had headphones in, it was like there was one cable on top, one on the bottom. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's what people were saying. But I mean, the iPods, they've always been on the bottom too, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think they kind of wanted it that way in the beginning, but they were maybe forced to put it on top. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Okay.
Um, with the camera, it's kind of, if like, it's kind of 50-50. Rumors are that they were going to stick with the same 8 megapixels
They
that's on the
can't.
5
They
and
can't.
5S.
No.
Well, basically, everyone said they're going to do the image stabilization in order to get you better quality of pictures while sticking with the same hardware.
Hmm.
But then there's another rumor where it said that they found out that Sony, who's providing the camera module, is said to be giving them this new module, which would give them a 13 megapixel. And
Nice.
they may still do the image stabilization. So it's sort of 50-50 which way it'll go, right? And I can see that. That's like a very Apple thing where, if they can do it in software or image stabilization, they'll stick with, the module, because remember, they're also making it thinner, right? So it's
Mhm.
going to be, they want to, save as much space as they can or whatever. But like you, I think going with 8 megapixels, because I think that came in on the 5, right? So if they did that for the
Yeah.
5 and the 5S and then 6, like that's kind of, I don't know.
I don't know. I just find that like I compare images that my friends take on their phones and what can take with my phone. And I don't profess that I'm a worse photographer. I think we're comparable. But man, it's like just really nice, crisp photos. I don't have to worry about like when we're taking photos of like my kid running across the room, right? It's like it's so clear that the iPhone just is really bad at just capturing even the slightest movements. Like my
Yeah,
kid
but
even it's like she just moves a little bit when she's eating and I'm taking a photo and it just goes all nuts, right?
well, see, that's the thing though, because you had the 4S and now you have the 5C, which is basically the 5, right? And I'll tell you, because I have the 5S, and the camera on the 5S is substantially better than
Hmm.
the 5,
Okay.
right? So even like to tell you that, like, there's burst mode, which is like kind of what you're saying, is if she moves or whatever, it'll
Yeah.
come up blurry or whatever. And so with burst, all you have to do is you just hold your hand down on the shutter button,
Hmm.
and it'll just rapid fire off.
Okay.
Like I can take like 180 shots, right?
Okay.
And so the blur is and like the crispness is there and stuff. So like the difference between 5 and 5S is
Okay. Okay.
substantial, but I'm with you. I think they would more head to the 13 megapixels,
Yeah.
especially if they have a new slimmer design and stuff. So, I guess we'll see.
Hmm.
Um, so I think next we'll go to is the rumor of the Sapphire screen.
Okay, so everyone's making such a big deal of this, whether you're running over it with a train or like shooting bullets at it. Who in God's green earth is like putting like nail guns to their phones? Like I'm the first one to admit. I remember back in the day when I was showing you that I used my iPhone 4S as a hammer. It works. It's cool. It's all great, right? But what what else do you want? You want to like if you're going to like Gaza Strip and use it as a bulletproof vest? Sure, but I mean, what are you guys trying to prove by like making the screen? Like the Gorilla Glass by itself right now is pretty decent. Like it doesn't hold a scratch, and I'm putting keys and stuff with my phone. And like
Yeah.
my case gets scratched up before my glass does. So I've stopped even buying those coatings that go on the phone.
Oh
There's
yeah,
no
yeah,
point,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Because I find that the coatings pick up the scratches before my glass does. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I know I have my wife's sister, younger sister.
mhm.
She cracked the glass on the iPhone 4. And I mean that's an older model, so yeah, sure, whatever. But I mean even just this past week we replaced a 5 at work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with a cracked glass. I mean, like spidered, right? So I mean, I've seen, there's YouTube videos with people who supposedly have the new screen for
Yeah.
the 6, which is supposed to be with the sapphire layer, and they tried stabbing it with a knife and
Yeah,
scraping it
exactly.
and stuff like that. And for me, the thing is, if it does make it a little more shatterproof and scratch proof, I'm all for it. I'm not gonna say no, don't do it. I mean, as long as it, if they can provide it at the same cost, like it's
Yeah.
not gonna make the price go up, then obviously no one's gonna turn it down. You know what I mean?
But
Um, yeah,
I was gonna say though, what do you think about like? So is the Sapphire really gonna happen? Because I keep on hearing all about the production volume being unable to be met or the
yeah.
demand. Is
Well,
that
yeah. Well, the thing is that they have that because they partnered with GT and they built the whole facility to do the Sapphire screens, right? And a while back, analysts checked into it, and with the size of the facility and the hardware that they have in there, they could make like between 100 to 200 million screens of 5 inches, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, I think they can get the whatever yield they need or whatever. But it was said that this year they can't ramp up to get enough to do it for the 6. So you
Ah,
know, again, it's another 50-50 thing. Until they walk on stage, we won't know, because some are saying, oh, for sure. I mean, there was
they had a
even
top secret facility where they were making extras. Come on.
there was even a post saying, that they had finally started to ship to their suppliers in China. But then they're saying that the iWatch is going to be using the Sapphire face, right? So,
Hmm.
we won't really know right now. I hope they do, even though I'm not going to be getting a 6. But we'll get into that later. But I hope they do.
Hmm.
Just because I want to see, what it's all about and how they're going to talk about it on stage. And, maybe they'll come out and they'll drop a cinder block on the phone and be like, look, this is Iron Man's phone.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing is like I know like in the rumors that I see, it's like the glass is there, but I'm also concerned about the backing, like the wraparound condition, and I've seen everything with like the special cases that you've seen in China that have like the the special indent for the logo thing.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Like I'm just curious about like all of that too because I found that with Antenna Gate, Apple's learned its lessons on a lot of the the physical properties. I just want to know like why could they not like I also heard rumors about the whole entire thing sapphired and like what's the prevalent rumor for the backing? Because right now, let's be honest here, like I said,
Yeah.
the case is only protecting the back. I care less about this front is never going to get scratched up, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so far, I mean, there's mock-ups, there's dummies and stuff, and the backing is supposed to be like usual, the aluminum. It's supposed to be a very rounded design,
Hmm.
and there's a cutout for the Apple logo. So
Yeah,
whether they're gonna do just the Apple logo in glass, because remember the antennas can't go through, or they can't transmit through the aluminum, right? That's why
yeah,
you have to have
exactly.
the RF windows. But there's also bands that are cut into the aluminum, which is supposed to be for the antenna. So why would they really need the antenna in the Apple logo?
Yeah.
Maybe it's an extra antenna, maybe to get better reception, who knows, right? But so far, the rumor is the backing is going to be the usual metal back. So,
Oh, okay.
and they do have the cutout for the Apple logo, which is a little different because in times past it's just sort of, engraved
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
aluminum. So I don't know, maybe that's a different thing. Some people thought they were going to do a glowing
Oh, that would have been
logo,
nice.
which would be nice, but I don't think
I
that's
think it'd be
gonna
annoying
happen.
over time, though.
And remember, people gonna be going into movie theaters, right? Because
Yeah.
like usually you put your phone on silent and stuff, but if it's glowing, it's gonna be glowing through your clothes, or if you put it in the cup holder, and then you have. I mean, there's just a whole ton of stuff, and then really it doesn't provide any function. It's just cool, and then people gonna slap cases over it, so it's gonna be hidden. So would they really spend the extra money? You know what I mean? I mean, it
Yeah.
is Apple, so maybe they would, but I don't know. That one I don't think has much chance of actually.
Okay. Hmm.
um, so we'll drop to the date. Um, because we pretty much covered like the big things people really care about.
Yeah.
So far the date being speculated right now, and which is actually kind of in the same time frame as previous releases. So a couple of people in the industry who are well known for being right have said that it's a good chance that it is correct.
Hmm.
So their big event, which is where they're going to debut it, is supposed to be September 9th.
Good.
And then the phone should then be released for sale a week later, which is what they typically
Typical. Yep.
do, right? So it's not known yet whether, like we said, the 5.5 is going to be at the same time or staggered release, but that's what we're looking at. I think it's going to be highly watched. Their stuff is usually highly watched, but I think this one more so because of the bigger screen.
Yeah.
So people who want to know if they should upgrade, they're going to watch it to see, is it really going to be this thin and light design with the bigger screen? And the people who have other types of smartphones, but who like, Apple, they're going to be watching. So I
Oh, of
think
course.
yeah, I think it's
Everyone
going
in
to be
Korea working at Samsung is going to be looking at this. Come on, let's be honest here.
for the Galaxy S6. We want to know what we're going to rip off.
Well, I mean, I'm really glad to hear that it's like, if it's going to be announced earlier, that's better because I really got to get rid of this phone. Like, people ask me, it's like, hey, Vince, you know that you have a green phone? It's like, yeah, for my daughter. What's the problem? Uh,
You should just be like, really? It's green? I
uh,
thought it was. I
it's like,
thought it was the
it's like,
black one.
it's like, listen, man, I'm colorblind. You don't see me going, hey, man, you're in a wheelchair. You want to climb up the stairs? Like, come on, what the hell? All right?
So I was gonna ask you if you were gonna get it, but you kind of answered that.
Yeah.
So
Got no
let's
choice, man.
let's let's switch up and ask what if you're gonna get it. What are you gonna get? What are your specs? Like, are you gonna get the top of the line 64
That's
gig,
that's it's.
gold or space gray or white or
I'm probably gonna go gray. I'll probably go for maybe not a. You know what? I'm spoiled. I mean, maybe I'll go for a
you
32.
won't get the 32.
Yeah,
Come
you're right. Yeah,
on.
you're right. Like, listen, my music. You guys know my music. It's gonna be like I gotta get the 64. And yeah, because I hate the fact that on this piece of crap, because it's my daughter's like it's a proxy phone for my daughter. I'm like, yeah, man. Like, is it 16 gigs? I was like, what? This is like I can't even fit like 4 albums. Like, a
Yep.
symphony is like 4 gigs right there. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
16 gigs is I don't even know why they keep that around. I'm just waiting for them to drop the 128 gig model and then 16 just disappears.
But you know what? At the same time, when I carry around, my one of my iPads around too, it's like, okay, I can watch some stuff and do other, like, so I'll sometimes, like, my iPad is now all my, like, sitting down classical music. My iPod, because it's so crappy, is just like some of my acapella stuff. But that's literally it. Like, it's just ridiculous how bad it is now.
Yeah. So I
Um,
won't be upgrading because I switched my upgrade cycle from the full number release to the S
S
release,
is, yep.
right? Because I always skip one model in between, and then I got the five, because that's when the five came out with the what did the five have? Can't remember what the five had, but I had
Uh,
to get it. And then the 5S came out with the Touch ID, and I was like,
yeah.
oh, I got to get that. And so my wife didn't say anything because, like I said, usually I skip. So if I tried to get the six, I think she'd pretty much kill me. I don't
Well, you know
even.
what? You actually have a really good scenario where, like, you can just alternate. Like, you can go, honey, I'm gonna get the 5S's, and you'll always get the five, the base numbers, right? See, right now, my wife
Yeah.
has an HTC, man. Like, that is rough. And the worst thing is, I had the, like, we're gonna talk about the OS a little bit maybe, but
Yeah.
man, I hate using her Android phone. I hate the HTC phone. Um, I honestly, I don't know how people can use a screen smaller than this. It's just baffling my mind thinking about, like, how people have, like, micro fingers or something to do that stuff.
Yeah, so iOS 8 should be dropping around the same time.
Doesn't it
Um,
have to?
Well, I mean, yeah, it has to, but
Yeah,
if the phone was ready and iOS 8 wasn't like exactly ready, they could just drop the phone with iOS 7 and be like, because they say fall, right? They don't
yeah.
give dates or anything. But I mean, they've got to be racing to get it done, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking it will be. Anything that you're looking forward to? I think we talked about it a little before, but I mean. What's your favorite feature that you've seen that you're looking forward to,
Like,
especially with the new hardware? Like the
well,
continuity and being able to start something on your phone and then go to your Mac
see,
or
that whole integration thing was like, I mean, I can kind of see that being beneficial, but I don't see myself like carrying a Word document on, like, I can see browsing, but that they have that for the web, right? Like, I mean, like for Safari. I've never thought of, like, typing an email or typing a document, and then on a computer, and then going, oh, I got to do it on the iPhone or something like that. That to me wasn't really a big sell. Understandably, even with my iPad, I found that I still was that continuity issue wasn't really a big factor. To me, it's just the ability to have less lagginess with a better processor and the complement with the hardware with a bigger screen. That's to me the big issue. Um, the only other thing is just if they were to put out a better function of the See, my thing is just, is there going to be anything better from the audio side of things? Because right now, I would love to get better equalization, and I was thinking, oh man, Beats. I know that the whole talk about like just streaming and all that service, like maybe the new iOS is going to have the better streaming service. God, I know that's a really messed up rumor, but I would just like to have better audio controls, like balancing. If they could get that sorted out, because there's so much capacity. No, listen, there's so much capacity. Like, you know that every other month I'm always recommending new sets of headphones
Yeah.
and earbuds, right? And it's just simply a function of I wouldn't have to do this if I could get better audio controls, not the stupid pre-canned stuff,
Yeah.
but if I could actually tweak it so I could have like 2 megahertz or whatever kilohertz. If I had that control in this, I would
Yeah.
be okay with that.
No, I was shaking my head because you're not gonna get that.
I know.
Maybe like iPhone 20 when they've like knocked off all the stuff on the list and
Yeah, I know, but it's more of like an aficionado of like music and sound. Like, I mean, it just bothers me every time. It's like, don't you hear that? It's not good, or
All right, so let's jump into the picks of the week. I'll let you go first because I have two. So,
okay. So I'm not sure if I talked about. I have kind of two as well, because I'm not sure if I talked about Sketchfab before, if it was offline. But Sketchfab is where you can take any 3D model and you can just basically upload it. Did I talk about that before?
I don't think I don't
Yeah, so
remember.
basically it's like a YouTube but for 3D models. So if you have like a 3D model of a building or you have a 3D model of like a scan of something, you can put it up there. People can navigate and rotate it. It's beyond easy to use. It's just like basically you make that model, you upload it, done, right? Bam. And it's really good because I'm going to start using it for courses because I just want to be able to have kids' 3D models readily available so I can see it all the time. Um, and if that was already posted up, the other one is I just got this set up now. EM Client. Have you used it before?
No.
Okay. Have you heard about it?
Nope. What
It's
is it?
basically a free alternative to Outlook, and it is beautiful.
Okay.
I've had this problem with the newest version of Outlook. It always crashes. I don't know what the hell's going on. My IT guys have been trying to rack their brains over for the last month to sort it out. And finally, every other time I would turn it on, it would crash. Finally, I said, screw it. I need to get my better email client. And I said either downgrade to Outlook from like whatever, I can't remember, the earlier version of Outlook, or get it on something else. And EM Client, it's exactly the same interface. It's very robust, very good at coordinating my meetings and calendars and everything. It's exactly the same thing as Outlook. It's free and it works. That's the most important thing.
I might have to try that.
Yep. All right, you?
Okay. Yeah, so my two picks, the first one, I think is something you're gonna like, so you might have to actually check it out. It's the Anker, and that's Anker, 40-watt, 5-port, family-sized desktop USB wall charger with Power IQ.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up right now. So
It's a mouthful, but basically, it's this little. It's about the size of a deck of cards,
Yep.
and it has 5 USB ports, and it plugs into the wall, and it charges whatever devices you have. So your iPhone, your iPads, whatever Android devices, you can plug them all in. So all you need is just your USB cable. You plug it in, you plug in your devices, and it charges all of them at the same time. And with the Power IQ, it regulates the wattage. So whatever the device will
iPhone
take.
versus an iPad.
Yeah. And it does switching, so it'll do 240 volts and 120 volts. You can carry it with
inside?
you. Yeah, you can carry it with you. Vacation. All you need is the adapter. You don't need a converter or anything. It does the switching, and like I said, it's like 4 ounces. It's like a deck of card size, so it's not huge or anything, and it's really nice looking. Really,
Have you actually got one, or?
it's coming because
okay.
we're heading to Portugal, right? And I'm like, okay, so instead, because my wife, she has her iPhone, I have my iPad, my iPhone.
Yeah.
I'm like, instead of carrying all
these chargers,
the chargers ends, we just have to carry the USB cords, and that's it.
Well, let me tell you right now, in my house right now, because we've got I don't know, maybe 9 iPads and.
Well, that's why I was saying I think you would love this.
But the thing is, I just bought my daughter one of those. It's basically like the wall charger that you just talked about, except it's got 2. And man, oh man, it's like finding those stupid cables in the house because she takes them and plugs them in everywhere. And oh man, like I was going to my computer and I was like, where the hell's the sync cable? And I realized she hijacked it and brought it up to plug in. That's the problem. They should have these things with like nice, clean adapters.
Cables.
Yeah, that would make life easier. Anyways, the other suggestion?
The other one is actually a podcast and an Instagram account. I followed them and I listened to the podcast. Really cool stuff, which is why I'm giving it as my pick, and it's Epic Comic Cast,
Mm-hmm.
all one word. That's their podcast and their Instagram name, and they also have a site which is www.pointofgeeks with an s.com.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. They talk about comics. They do movie reviews. So we do the same sort of stuff, but it's always good to hear what they have to say, their points of view and stuff, and they put up some really cool stuff. So those are my picks.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it for us this week. We will be doing or discussing the movie Mr. Brooks next week, and Matt should be back. So like we said, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched that movie by now, either watch it and listen in, or don't listen in until you've watched it.
Well, let me be clear here. I don't think very many people would have seen that movie, period. It was so under the radar. I'm not even making a judgment about the movie. I'm just saying that when he told me about the movie, I was like, there's a movie that Kevin Costner was in called Mr. I was like Mr.
And
Deeds?
even, what's his name? Dane Cook is in it too.
Yeah, that's, jeez.
That was very
is
obscure.
Straight to DVD or something?
Possibly, he probably picked it just because of that fact.
Okay.
Matt.
Well, yeah, and I also want to know if this is going to be like a 7 or like a 2, because it's just putting this out there, man.
Yeah. Well, I already know my movie, so I can't wait till it's around to my turn. Because I just watched it this past weekend, and I was like, man, I wanted to do a review on my site, and then I was like, no, I'll save it, and I'll put you guys through the horror.
Wait, but didn't you force us to watch
Gladiator? No.
Yeah, Gladiator's fine.
This Gladiator is like head and shoulders above this. It's like, if I think a movie's bad, you guys are gonna be like, what is this drivel?
I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm open-minded. I'm just very negative, but that's okay.
All right. Anyway, so we will catch you guys next week. So take it easy.
All right. See you guys.